Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Player Zone YouTube channel. And it is very last minute, but games just come flying through at this time of the year. We are back this time for our Match Week 19 Premier League predictions. Boxing Day, the 27th and the 28th games are all flying around there. Love this time of year with Premier League football coming every day of the week, it feels like. And what a treat we've got. We've got some massive games over Boxing Day, over the 27th, to feast our eyes upon. In terms of last week's predictions, I did deplorable. I did awful last week. I only made it to 4 of our prediction points with a correct scoreline in there and one other correct result predicted. That takes our total now to 115 after 18 match weeks, and looking to really need a bounce back this week with actually with 10 games. So hopefully I can do much better than the 9 games we had last week. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to it, like this video and share this channel with your mates as well. But in terms of our prediction points, if you're trying to get your head around it, it's 3 points for the correct scoreline, 1 point for the correct result predicted, and then obviously 0 if you get neither. And with that all being said, guys, let's jump straight into the predictions. So the early kickoff takes us up north to Newcastle. There's Newcastle hosting Nottingham Forest, and a very interesting one, this one here. Both teams coming off disappointing losses for different sort of reasons. Newcastle, obviously the 1-0 loss to Luton up there at Kenilworth Road on the back of that really emotional day for them as they're playing for their skipper, Tom Lockyer. And Newcastle just didn't seem to be at the races in the first half. Really slow, sluggish. And I think my statement a few weeks ago about them being tired is probably coming true now. Dealt with a lot of injuries, still dealing with a lot of injuries this season. And now you come to the busy Christmas period where you're playing every third day or every second day, it feels like at times. And they're just starting to catch up with them. They've got a very energetic style of football, high pressing, quick movement into feet, out of feet. I think they're just, fallen victim to this of the last year and a half of playing this style of football. It was just a small mistake on the weekend with Townsend getting onto the back post there, Lewis Mai not picking him up. And that's what you're going to get with younger players and inexperienced players or players who haven't played the system as much playing in your group there. And they just couldn't find a way for an equaliser. I think Callum Wilson had the best chance of the game from point-blank range. He put his effort straight at the keeper, Kaminski. So outside of that, they were really, really poor. But at home, they're very strong. They haven't lost there. They've won their last 7 games at home, so they're very strong at home. I think that's where Nottingham Forest will struggle. Obviously, the first game under Nuno Espirito Santos watched last week, and it was going all right until that controversial double yellow for Willy Bolly. He gets sent off, and after that, they did a lot of good stuff to fight back against a really solid side in Bournemouth there. But Solanke's quality got them over the line, and you just feel sorry for Forest because that was a great chance to get some momentum under the new manager. I expect the new manager bounce to continue here and to create a challenge for Newcastle, but at home they're just too strong. They need to bounce back, and as such, I've got Newcastle in this game 2-1. Our next game takes us all the way down to the south coast. It's Bournemouth versus Fulham. A very interesting matchup, this one here. 2 teams, one in great form, one it's really hard to read their form. Starting with Bournemouth, they are killing at the moment. Obviously, on the back of that 3-2 stoppage time winner over Nottingham Forest. There, Solanke scores a hat-trick. He continues to prove to me that he's a top striker in this league. And their attacking style, front-footed style of football that Ariola's got them playing is there to be seen. In recent weeks, they've had 13 goals in the last 5 games, which has seen them win 4 games, draw 1, and they're just really, really tough to slow down at the moment. They've got a midfield that presses when they need to. They've got that old school mentality of absorbing some pressure also when they have to. But the best thing about them, their back 4 is very solid. I think of Kirkes, I think of Billing and Cook protecting that back 4. Adam Smith and his smarts as well. They've got a back 4 there that's really solid, and a 2 in front of them that is very solid as well. And they don't give up many chances. And then when you've got this likes of Tavernier, Solanke, Clive, he came off the bench, but even Sinisterra's off your bench as well. Semenyo, all these super talented players coming off your bench and starting for your side. No wonder they're scoring goals, and their clinical nature's improving. If they continue to gain this clinical edge in front of goal, it's a hard team to stop. They have a lot of pace. They play through the lines, and this attacking, aggressive, one-touch sort of fast-paced style of football that they've got going on there at Bournemouth is very, very impressive to see. They come up against a Fulham side though, who are in a bit of trouble as of recent. At the start of the season, they were struggling for goals, and then Jimenez goes and gets that red card 2 weeks ago off the back of that 5-0 win versus West Ham. They lose at Newcastle. They get well and truly beaten last week versus Burnley, despite having an absolutely dominant first half, couldn't score, and then Burnley put some great goals on top of them in the second half. And that's my worry with Fulham. Without Jimenez there and without that connection in the final third, they look a bit toothless. They struggle to remain in control of games without scoring. Because in the Premier League, if you dominate, you've got to score because teams will come back and they'll pounce. And if you don't have enough goals on your side, you'll lose more games than you will win. So I expect to go a similar way in this one here. I think Bournemouth are too good at the moment. I'll give them in this game 3-0. I think Solanke up top's been too clinical. Fulham are hit and miss at the moment and missing that real sharp edge at the top end of the pitch. Our next game is basically a relegation 6-pointer. Sheffield United host fellow promoted side Luton Town. Again, two teams on contrasting form charts at the moment. Sheffield are turning things around slowly, but are yet to really get that sort of massive 3 points or massive result. They were good versus Villa, but they couldn't go to the line. A late stoppage time equaliser for Villa. That goes and shows again. We've had so many occasions this season where Sheffield United have been winning or drawing positions and end up losing or drawing games because they give away late goals. And it hurts them once again on the weekend. They need those 3 points because the other team we talk about here, Luton, they got all 3 points versus Newcastle. And at home, they continue to make that place a bit of a fortress. They defend deep, they defend solidly, they don't give you much space, they don't give you much breathing room. And the talented players are Townsend and Barkley, and their fullbacks in Doughty and Bell have been very, very important for them. I think these sort of 4 players alongside Adebayo's clinical nature in front of goal will be the key to them winning games. And in this one here, they're going to have to be on fire. I think because we look what Sheffield United did against Aston Villa. They sat in deep, they denied them anything they wanted. They forced shots from outside the box. I expect Sheffield United to play with a similar sort of style in this game here, to be quite defensive, absorb the pressure, not lose the game at first, and then go and try and win it after that. And as such, I think it will be a tight sort of affair. No team really wants to lose it. The team who wins it will be very, very happy because Luton Town now only 2 points out of the drop zone, from the drop zone with a game in hand. So they'll definitely not want to lose the game. They'd love to win it. But I think with both teams being very cautious of not losing the game, I see it being a draw. I've got this game being a 1-1 draw. Luton getting a handy point away from home. Our next game takes us to Lancashire. Burnley are hosting Liverpool. Bit of a northern rivalry there. And a very interesting game this one will be. Burnley have really struggled at home, but as of recent have really turned their form around and changed the way they're playing their football a little bit. I've called for it so many times and we've seen it now. The last 2 wins they've got, they've had 35% possession. And I think when they can defend deep and absorb pressure, spring the odd press on the team, and then use the pace they've got in wide areas and down the middle of the pitch, they can be a real threat. And versus Fulham, they were not even near in the game in the first half. Trafford, amazing saves. Ball's been cleared off the line. Last-ditch blocks. But come the second half, early on, they're on fire. Amdouni has a shot. Forster was linking up well. And the goal ends up coming through the youngster there in Odson Odobert. And Lyle Foster's continue to look dangerous up top. So I think using these youngsters and their pace to get in behind, playing on the counter-attack will be their way going forward. I appreciate the style of football they played coming up was front foot, open style of football, playing out from the back, expansive in that regard there, but it doesn't seem to have worked. So I like how Vincent Kompany has allowed his team to be more defensive, absorb some pressure. Look at West Ham, look at Everton. They're amongst some of the top teams in the league at the moment, but are not playing with 60%, 70% possession. They're playing with 30%, and that's what Burnley are going to have to do because they've got the talent in that squad. Sander Berge with a great solo goal as well last time out. They've got the talent there to go and win games. They just can't do it playing this sort of possession, ball-playing style of football. On the other side of things, Liverpool, they come off their 1-1 draw versus Arsenal. I guess they'll be the more disappointed of the two sides. Being at home, having that chance, Trent hitting the ball off the crossbar, multiple opportunities, a handball that should have gone their way. They probably came out of the two teams a bit more disappointed, but they weren't beaten by Arsenal. They probably looked the better side as well, so that's a positive for them. They'll look to come to Burnley and try and blow them out the park. I think it all happened from that midfield and wide areas when you got Diaz, Salah, potentially Nunes playing this game as well. And then that midfield there, I think Endo put in one of his best performances in a Liverpool shirt last time out. He'll look to work hard in that midfield alongside Gravenberch or Curtis Jones and try and overpower and overrun this Burnley side. I think that's where the key is. Whoever dominates the wide areas is, well, I guess if Liverpool dominate the wide areas, they'll probably win the game. If Burnley can keep control of the wide areas and even have a chance themselves from there, they probably stay in the game, might get a result, maybe a draw, or potentially even a great win. So that's where this game will likely be won and lost. For me, I think Liverpool got too much quality. Burnley have struggled at home this season. As such, got this going with a 3-0 Liverpool win. Our next game is at Old Trafford. Manchester United host Aston Villa. And unfortunately, you'd think this would be a great game. I can only see this going one way. Manchester United going through one of their longest goalless droughts in club history. There's a lack of identity, a lack of real presence up top. There's pressure on Højlund, Antony, Garnacho, Rashford. And none of these guys are performing. Bruno Fernandes is trying his best, but he's not doing enough. He's trying too much at times. There's a lack of presence. There's so many different names. Willy Kambwala comes in the side. Kobe Manu's in that side as well. So you've got some young teenagers. And it just isn't clicking right now for Manchester United. 10 different centre-back partnerships have been had this season. That goes to show the problems of the club this season. A lot of moving pieces, a lot of injuries, a lot of inconsistency. And as such, we're looking at a Manchester United side that are closer to probably dropping out of the top half than they are closing in on that top 6 or that top 4 there. So they need to get a result here at Old Trafford, but you can't go against an Aston Villa side. They're just too good at the moment. Halted by Sheffield United, yes, but probably one of their poorest performances of the season. They've played very good in other games. They know how to break sides down. I imagine Aston Villa will actually be the team on the front foot at Old Trafford. They'll try and play through the lines. When you've got Ollie Watkins and Moussa Diaby and Leon Bailey and the former Douglas Luiz in as well, I expect them to overrun the Manchester United midfield to expose that new centre-back partnership of Kambwala and Evans. I think it just could be a one-way stream in this one here. I've got this going with an Aston Villa 2-0 win. I think they've got too much Unitedness. They're playing too well at the moment. I think they'll just play around United and play through them. And United at the moment, with a lack of confidence, the lack of quality, will fall really, really well short. Our next game is one of those classic mid-table clashes in the Premier League. We've got Brentford hosting Wolves. We're back in London. This will be a very, very interesting game. Brentford having the last few days off with some of the fixture congestion. But they now come and host Wolves. So 2 games in a row at home. The last home game was a tough 2-1 loss to Aston Villa. But a game where they took it to Villa. They defended very well. They took their chance when they had the opportunity. They're going to have to do a similar sort of thing going forward this season because the amount of chance creation at the club has been limited. Without Ivan Toney there's not enough opportunity in front of goals to go and score 3 or 4 like they have in previous seasons. Look at this game here as an opportunity to get their season kick-started, get the second half of the year on the right foot, going up against a Wolves side that's solid, really, really solid at the back, but it doesn't score as many goals without Pedro Neto there as well. So 2 sides that are going to try and be solid at the back because they're struggling in front of goal at the moment. And that's where the game will be won and lost. Whoever's more clinical in front of goal. Obviously, Wolves come off a great 2-1 win versus Chelsea. Really, really good throughout that game. Chelsea obviously had some great opportunities in the first half, but come the second half, I think Wolves were definitely the better of the 2 sides. Mario Lemina and Nelson Semedo involved in everything good the team was doing in that game. And I expect these two to have a big role in this one here as well. As I said, whoever's more clinical in front of goal will probably win it. But with these Wolves midfielders and the fullbacks or wing backs like Semedo there, these guys push forward and create overloads in dangerous areas. And that's where Wolves have scored a lot of their goals whilst Pedro Neto's been away. Is overloading areas, getting midfielders running into the box. And they've got some very talented midfielders at that. We know that Wolves aren't great away from home and Brentford are normally solid at home. Combined with Brentford's extra few days rest, it could be a really tight, close game. And as such, I've got this going with a 1-1 draw. I think both teams will eke each other out. Probably not have enough to get over the line. And as such, I see a 1-1 draw in this one. Our next game keeps us in London and is Chelsea hosting Crystal Palace in an all-London affair. Once again, Chelsea disappointing us once more. A great first half versus Wolves, unable to take their opportunities, and it comes back to haunt them once more. We've got Christopher Nkunku being introduced, but he hasn't had the opportunity to really show what he can do in this side because of how poor they've been playing as of recent. You talk about Manchester United with the lack of identity. I think Chelsea right now are struggling as well. It's a lot of possession, a lot of meaningless possession, and when they get to that final third, they almost panic and not know how to finish in front of goal. I like the introduction of Emmanuel Breuer down the middle, up front. I think Nicholas Jackson needs some time away from the squad just to maybe re-find some confidence and some form. Let's get another winger alongside Sterling around Breuer, see what they can do with Nkunku in behind. Potentially see Chelsea do something this season. I think they've got more of an upturn than some of the other clubs where we think about Newcastle and Manchester United who are also struggling. I think Chelsea, if they get a few things clicking, they could go on a great run here. We're just waiting for it to happen, and it could start here. Crystal Palace, obviously a really, really solid few performances in the last 2 to 3 weeks after that poor 2-0 loss to to Bournemouth. Once again, they took it to the opposition. They really took it to Brighton and were the better side for the first half. Obviously, Brighton grew into the game, but Crystal Palace always looked in control of that game, and it took a very, very impressive Danny Welbeck looping header to get the game equalised, and from there, Brighton probably looked the better side. But Palace, again, really robust in midfield. One of those teams, again, doesn't play with much with the ball, but without it, they're probably at their best, springing presses on teams. And we see the impact that Michael Elise has in this squad. He, in part of the high press, wins the ball back, puts a great ball into the back post for IE to head home in that 1-1 draw versus Brighton. And that's where I like to see Elise and Eze get involved, because they've got so much creative power in those final third areas to create chances and to punish teams. And against a Chelsea side, I think if they continue to be really aggressive in midfield and aggressive into their press, they could get over the top of this Chelsea side, who are very nervy on the ball at times, sometimes overplay it, and lack that midfield, connectiveness right now. So that's probably their avenue to win this game. I think Chelsea will just get over the line, though, because they're at home, because they need a result, and because of the quality they've got in that squad, you think they'd get over the line. We've got Chelsea win this game 2-1, but don't get me wrong, it's going to be an absolute scrap for both sides. Our next game is up in Merseyside. It's Everton hosting Man City, and a very interesting matchup this one could prove to be. Everton were very, very impressive once again versus Tottenham Hotspur. Outside of that first 20 minutes, they were the better side. They created so many chances, and the quality of chance they were creating goes to show you how this squad is playing with so much confidence right now. Jack Harrison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Andre Gomez all playing incredibly well. Andre Gomez for his first game back, getting on the score sheet as well. He was very, very impressive, and goes to show why he was worth a lot of money only 3 or 4 years ago. But we're seeing that this team, especially at Goodison Park, they're so hard to beat. They've got that confidence. They play so narrow and so constricted, and don't give up many spaces. They allow teams to have the ball. They'll spring the odd counter press on them. They utilise the wide area as well. One of the few teams, I think, in the league that actually utilise wingers to their maximum potential. I look at Dwight McNeil and Jack Harrison, who've been so important with this team this season. They've had the ball fed to them more often than not and are creating chances. Look at Manchester City. They come off their Club World Cup win only a few days ago, so they've had to travel a little bit, and that's where Everton could potentially get the upper hand of them. In great form, probably the fresh of the two sides, whereas Man City have been on a flight, they've come back, they've had the celebrations. Are they ready to go straight away? They're currently sitting 4th in the Premier League after missing a few games. Can they come, put a statement here against Everton, one of the form teams of the competition, and set themselves up for another great title race come the end of the season? For City, without Haaland, they're going to need to create more clear-cut opportunities. In recent weeks, that's where they've fallen short. We can all agree. They've struggled to create clear-cut opportunities and put teams away. Last time out, the 2-2 draw versus Crystal Palace. They had the game in the scruff of their neck, but they didn't, put the final dagger into Crystal Palace. And look, they came back and tied that game up. It'll be a very similar thing here against Everton. Whoever scores that first goal will likely probably be the favourites, but it's whoever can close the game out. I think Everton are a better closing team than Man City at the moment, because they're leaking goals, which we normally don't expect for them. With it all being said, I think Man City are fired up this time of the year. They start getting going and they start that positive run. And I think they're going to win this game 2-0. I think Everton will cause them a tough time, but the quality of City will come through and shine through in the end. Our penultimate game is on the South Coast. It's Brighton hosting Tottenham. And Brighton, for me, continue to be one of the most disappointing teams this season. A team that just seems to be a shadow of themselves, lacking that ability to create in the final third or put things together. The transition game is so slow for them. They're really slow in possession, and teams are finding it quite easy just to defend against them, setting a low block, pressing them hard up the pitch, and causing mistakes. And once again, a mistake leads to the Crystal Palace goal last time out. Verbruggen with a poor pass out from the back, and it feels like De Zerbi needs to just backpedal a little bit and play a bit more pragmatic to try and achieve more things this season. Obviously, they're doing very well in the Europa League, but if they want to get qualification for the Conference League or the Europa League through the league, they're going to have to really improve their performances, because the gap is growing week by week and the performances have not gotten any better. They come up against a Tottenham team, though, who will play in the front foot and will open up at the back. We saw Everton probably get the best of them for the last 70 minutes of that game, because they were so open at the back. Everton were playing through the lines and creating chances. However, it was Tottenham, the early goals that got them over the line. Their opening 20 minutes was very, very impressive. That first goal, the one-touch play, Pap Sarr involved, also Brennan Johnson in there as well, and a great cross for Richarlison. He scored 4 in his last 3. You've got Sonny in the goals as well. These two alongside Kulusevski, who's really lifted in that number 10 role, replacing James Maddison, has held this team together. And as the cavalry starts to return come the new year, we could be seeing Tottenham really make a push to be amongst that top 3 group and potentially challenge for a title, because they're putting these performances together, not being at their best and not being at their strongest in terms of players. And it's the Ange way to continue to attack, continue to be expressive, and it's working so far this season. I think because of Brighton, how dodgy they are at the back and how much Tottenham have been confident on the ball to play through the lines and play through teams, I think Tottenham cruise this game. I've got to win this game 3-1. This now brings us to our final game of the weekend. Back in London, Arsenal are back at home hosting West Ham United. Arsenal obviously coming off that 1-1 draw versus Liverpool. They'll be happier in the fact that they probably got away with something there. Potential Odegaard handball, poor performances from Martinelli. Declan Rice probably having his weakest performance in an Arsenal shirt. And with all Liverpool's firepower, they never got over the line versus Arsenal. And at times, you just got to wonder, is that one of those results that will help them on the way to the title race? Not losing at Anfield. It's a really hard place to go and play, and they've got a positive result in the fact they haven't lost that game of football. Yet again, though, I still don't reckon we've seen Arsenal at their best this season. We're still waiting for that to happen, and I think against this West Ham side, it's very pragmatic. You saw versus Manchester United, they were very quiet for major periods of the game, but when it needed to happen, it was Kudus, it was Paqueta, it was Bowen. These 3 really stood out and got over the line for them. But Arsenal and West Ham pragmatic, Arsenal not at their best. You expect it to be a bit of a boring game, a slow burn. I think Arsenal's quality and their ability just to keep grinding out results will get them over the line this game. Got them winning this game 2-0, but don't get me wrong, West Ham's pragmatic style of play with Paqueta's form and Kudus' form, you never know, they could spring a bit of a challenge here to Arsenal and might need to test them, because Arsenal can't go in this game expecting to win, because West Ham have been in great form. They're top 6 for a reason, and they're really going to challenge this Arsenal side coming off a short turnaround. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings this episode of the Premier League predictions to an end for Matchweek 19. We are officially at the halfway point of the season. There's games coming around every second day, so there'll be more prediction videos coming very, very soon. Make sure, guys, if you enjoyed it, to smash a like on it, subscribe to the Players Zone channel for more football and other sporting-based content, and also share the channel with mates, others who would enjoy this type of content. I hope you all had a great Christmas. Bring on the new year, bring on the football. I hope you enjoy the football over the next few days, and I'll see you guys for another video very, very soon. Until then, guys, see you later.